Hi, this is Fred the Wolf, and here's a review for Scream 4. Scream 4 begins with a homecoming for Sidney Prescott, played again by Neve Campbell, who returns to Woodsboro, which was the setting for the original 1996 Scream, for a book tour. You see, Sidney is now a best-selling author for a memoir titled Out of Darkness, which is about her three ordeals with the Ghostface Killer. Ironically or coincidentally, Sidney arrives on the 15th anniversary of the original Woodsboro murders. Also ironically and coincidentally, two murders happened the night before her arrival by someone dressed like Ghostface, who in no time makes it clear that Sidney is the prime target for a fourth go-around. Because of this, Sidney reunites with the two people who know the Ghostface deal as much as she does. Dewey Riley, played by David Arquette, and his wife Gail Weathers Riley, played by Courtney Cox. Dewey has been promoted from deputy to sheriff of Woodsboro, while Gail has given up her journalism career to become a writer. Unfortunately, Gail's muse has faded away since Sidney and Ghostface disappeared. Sidney stays with estranged family members, her Aunt Kate, played by Mary McDonnell, and cousin Jill, played by Emma Roberts. Because of Sidney, Jill also becomes the target, as if Ghostface is trying to recreate the first film by picking off Jill and her group of friends. These friends include bitchy best friend Kirby, played by Hayden Panettiere, ex-boyfriend Trevor, played by Nico Tortorella, hot friend Olivia, played by Marielle Jaffe, and film geeks Robbie, played by Eric Knudsen, and Charlie, played by Rory Culkin. Robbie and Charlie tell Sidney and Gail that they believe the new Ghostface is trying to recreate the original Woodsboro murders in some sort of remake or reboot, where the old rules don't apply anymore. I had a lot of fun with Scream 4. It's not a perfect horror film, but it's highly entertaining and a cool theater experience with friends and those who are fans of the Scream movies. Wes Craven and writer Kevin Williamson, who returns after his absence on the lackluster Scream 3, use Scream 4 not only as their way to resurrect the franchise that ended in 2000, but as a commentary on modern horror. More specifically, torture porn and the whole remake trend Hollywood has been on for the last few years since 2003's The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. The opening of Scream 4 makes fun of the Saw films, calling them crap pretty much. It's funny since Stab, the film that makes fun of Scream within the Scream franchise, is now up to its seventh installment, much like Saw is up to now. As for the remake commentary, Craven and Williamson seem content in knocking the direction modern horror has gone while remaking or rebooting Scream itself. It's also very ironic when Craven has been in favor of his films being remade, as he played executive producer for both the Hills Have Eyes films as well as the Last House on the Left remake. Maybe his disgust for a film that was remade without his consent on Nightmare on Elm Street left a sour taste in his mouth. Unfortunately, the remake idea isn't presented enough in Scream 4's narrative. There's mention about breaking rules or there being no rules, but there's not enough emphasis on these ideas to really connect with the story or the audience. Other than a scene where Kirby names every single remake that's been released after Scream 3, which is both funny and very sad, the team cast doesn't seem to acknowledge boldly that Ghostface is targeting them because they are the recreations of the original characters. The idea does rear its head during the revelation, but by then it's kinda too late. The subplot is there, but doesn't get enough attention. The characters could also have been developed more. While it was nice to see the old ones back, I would have liked to have seen more of a change between them. It has been 11 years and they still seem like the same people that we saw in Scream 3. Plus, we don't get enough time with the older characters anyway, as the film focuses more on the teen cast. This does cause a disjointed feel to the film, but I didn't really notice it until after I watched the film and reflected on it. Also, the mystery could have been a bit stronger. The Scream films focus on the whodunit portion of the story, but that was lacking here. Sure, everyone in the film is made to look shady so we can suspect them as the killer, but we need more scenes where characters are investigating each other and the situation. As for guessing the killer, I solved the mystery by halfway through the film. Maybe it's because I've seen enough of these films, or maybe because the mystery wasn't as strong as it should have been. Who knows? Other than that, the story works and feels like a Scream film, which what Scream 3 severely lacked. The opening is clever with its twist and play on the number of Saw films with the Stab films. I also thought the ending was very cool, even though it could have ended 10 minutes sooner than it did. I thought the killer was okay, but I did love the reasoning as to why the murders were being recreated because it definitely reflected today's pop culture. I was hoping it would end where I wanted it to end because it would have made a very interesting Scream 5. But then there were 10 more minutes that took it all away. Apparently Wes Craven was against the extra 10 I'm talking about, but the studio wanted a more final ending. Still, it was an entertaining end. The dialogue is funny, like the moment where Adam Brody and Anthony Anderson are discussing the survival rate of cops in films, and there are very memorable quotes by a lot of the characters. It wasn't the best Scream narrative, but I still enjoyed watching it play out in a This is ridiculous in shallow sort of way. The gore here seems to have hidden since the last installment. While the murders are still typical stabbings and off-chance gunshots, there's a scene where we see the intestines of some poor victim, which is a first in a Scream film. It's not close to a torture porn, but it's probably the bloodiest of the Scream films. The direction by Wes Craven is his best in Scream 2 in 1997. That's not to say he's back to his peak, but at least Scream 4 looks and feels like a Scream film, and is way better than My Soul to Take. There are a decent amount of jump scares, and he balances the horror and comedy efficiently. It's fast-paced as well, which kept me from becoming bored. The tone remained pretty consistent for me, so I'm good with what Craven presented. The cast is pretty strong. Campbell, Cox, and Arquette jump right back into their old roles as if they never left, which is great to see. Out of the newer cast, Hayden Panettiere was my favorite as Kirby. She seemed to be having fun with the role, and I never understood the hate for her, as I always felt she was a good actress. I think she's the only new character that would have fit right in with the original 1996 cast. Emma Roberts was decent as Jill. I didn't hate her as some people from the reviews I read, but she wasn't the greatest actress either. Nico Tortorella overacted a bit, while Rory Culkin underacted a bit. The shorter roles from Marley Shelton as Dewey's deputy, who has a crush on him and Sidney apparently, as well as Adam Brody and Anthony Anderson, whose character was named Anthony Perkins that no one made mention of, were pretty solid. Plus Anna Paquin and Kristen Bell look hot in their show roles. Not a bad cast. And special mention must go to Roger L. Jackson as the voice of Ghostface. His voice sounded edgier and more brutal and more angrier, and I really appreciate it. And I still want his voice. I think his voice is very, very cool. All in all, I'm giving Scream 4 3 howls out of 4. I know a lot of people out there will disagree with that score. Believe me, I already had a heated debate about my feelings towards this film on Facebook, but I wasn't expecting much out of the sequel and ended up being really enjoying my movie experience. It was also helped by having a great crowd around me who seemed to enjoy it as much as I did. They even clapped at the end, which you don't get much these days. Is it the greatest horror film ever? Not in a million years. If you want to see a better, more serious horror film this month, you probably should skip this and see Insidious instead. But it was a blast to watch, and entertainment value always comes before the analytical value, and I was certainly entertained by Scream 4. By box office numbers this weekend being low, however, let's hope this is the last one. I honestly can't see where they can go from here, but I'll probably be there just like I was for the rest of them. Until then, I'm screamed out.